Since the dawn of time, man has been curious. And for almost as long, the Vibes Broadcast Network has sought the truth. Investigate, discuss, explore. Okay, maybe in other episodes, but this one is just listen to the vibes.
The views and opinions of our guests may not necessarily reflect those of the host or the Vibes Broadcast Network. Listener discretion is advised.
Well, welcome everyone to another episode of Listen to the Vibes. And I have my friend, Mr. Robert Righi here. And Robert has turned out to be a good friend. We don't get to talk as often as we should, but he always seems to know when I need to be talked to because he is a psychic medium. And he was in the field of forensic psychology, worked on a very famous case with Ted Bundy. We're not going to talk about Ted Bundy today because I want to know about your going out to New Mexico and working with homeless and the different spiritual awakenings you had there and experiences, because I believe that we all kind of need to have some kind of an awakening now. This world is turning to mean. We're finding at one point, and I don't want to make this sound like I'm on a soapbox, and I don't want to make it sound like I just want this to sound as positive as I can, but you can't get to that positive till you hear the negative stuff first. And by the way, he's smoking his cigarettes and I'm chewing my tobacco because we're going to try to relax while we're doing this. But there was a time in Robert's life where he experienced things that some people just should never experience, let's face it, and prejudices and things like that. And granted, mine weren't near as bad as his, but we both experienced stuff that people just shouldn't have to go through. But it did make us better people, and we try to help others. That's what the network's about. That's what Robert's all about. We want to help people. We have overcome these different things in our lives. So hopefully we can inspire you and motivate you to be the best that you can. Get out of that victimhood mentality. You do not have to be a victim. I spent many years being a victim until I finally decided I needed to take my life in my own hands, not rely on other people to do it for me, but surround myself with people who can lift me up and help me. Robert's that kind of guy. And we're kind of finding ourselves on the same side of the fence now with a lot of the people that are attacking us, and something I didn't think I'd ever see, but unfortunately it's happening. But we're not going to focus on that part of it. We're going to focus on how we can help you and some of the things Robert's been going through lately to make him even stronger. So Robert, I'm going to give the floor to you because otherwise I'll monopolize the whole conversation.
Oh, and that's fine too. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate you allowing me to be on your podcast. I appreciate you. You're a great man. Good.
Thank
friend.
you. The pleasure's all mine. Believe me.
We will chat later. Well, my paranormal brothers and sisters, as you know, I'm a psychic medium. I also have a master's degree in forensic psychology and clinical social work from the University of Florida. Yes, I did in 1980 with myself and 4 other psychologists that we interviewed Ted Bundy, but that's for another story. And I do a lot of volunteerism. I do a lot of things within the paranormal field also, like I mentor 15 children of the paranormal. I volunteer at a hospice in Peoria, Illinois, where I was born and raised, which I'm back home now, which I haven't been home for a long, long time. And I'll get to the reason why I was gone. But anyhow, it's very important to me to help our brothers and sisters in need, just not in the paranormal field, but also our brothers and sisters who are not in the paranormal field. Our brothers and sisters who are on the street, who are marginalized because of many reasons, maybe because of mental illness, maybe because of the physical handicap, maybe because of alcoholism, drug addiction, or any type of addiction. Okay. In December of last year, it was just right after Christmas, and I thought, I'm going to volunteer, or I want to volunteer if God opens the door for me. I want to volunteer on an Indian reservation out west someplace. And I've always wanted to do that. I love Native American culture. I love the whole spirituality, not the religion, but the spirituality with our Native brothers and sisters. And before you know it, on the 27th of December of last year, God did open, or some people can say, call the universe, whatever you want to call it is fine. And this door was open to me. I was talking to a Catholic priest, and I said, I really want to work with Native Americans. I want to learn more about their culture, about their society, about their spirituality. I want to learn from them firsthand of their history, which is a rich, beautiful, loving history that we white folks try to take away from them, try to rob them from it. The missionaries in the 17 and 1800s and the early 1900s that went out to the Southwest, they had all the good intentions in the world, but it was truly a genocide, just like what President Jackson did with the Trail of Tears, starting in the southwestern part of the United States. And a lot of our Native American brothers and sisters died on the way. They were just left there to die. And they were taken to Oklahoma, to a culture and to a place that they have never seen before. Here they were, like from Georgia and from Florida and those types of places. So they saw a lot of greenery and water and everything. And here they had to march all the way to the Oklahoma territory at that time. And that's why today that Native Americans do not use $20 bills, because Jackson's picture is on them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. A lot of times they will ask, if the change is a $20 bill, they'll ask for 2 10s or 5s, okay, or 1s, but they refuse to use $20 bills because President Jackson is on the $20 bill. I was talking to this priest, like I said, that I wanted to go out someplace. It didn't have to be in the Southwest. It could have been anywhere in the country where there's Native Americans. But most Native Americans now live in Arizona, New Mexico, and different places out there, Montana, Wyoming, and such. And so Father said, let me make some calls. And he got back to me 2 days later, just right before January 31st. First. And he said, Robert, the Missionaries of Charity, which was an organization of sisters that Mother Teresa of Calcutta began many, many years ago in 1945, I do believe. And they're all over. There's 50,000 missionaries of charity working this very moment, volunteering all over the world. And so here in Peoria, I knew the Missionaries of Charity. We have an order here that work with the homeless and poor, and so I met them and such like that. So I knew of them, and so Father got back to me and said the Missionaries of Charity in Gallup, New Mexico, are needing volunteers, because most volunteers can only volunteer for a week or two at the most. You know, me being retired, not having a family, I'm not married, I have no children, nothing like that. And so I'm able to do what I want to do and travel around to help our brothers and sisters in need. And so I contacted the Missionaries of Charity, and they asked, how long can you stay? And I said, I can stay until the last part of May. She almost dropped the phone. She said, really? I said, yes, sister. Yes. When I volunteer anywhere, it's for a period of time. It's just not going to be a couple weeks. You know what I mean?
Right.
So anyhow, and so sister goes, do you need money to come out? And I said, no, because my church help. It's not that I'm wealthy, because I'm not. And so, no, don't worry about that, because my church is going to help me come out by bus or by train. Okay, so we set it up that I would be there on the 1st of January. And you know how the evil one and the pesky spirits, we had a horrible snowstorm here. The buses were canceled. I tried another time to go out, and then out west, it was horrible weather out there. And so it was canceled. Finally, I thought, you know what, the hell with it. I'm going to start on this journey. And if it takes me a month, it takes me, okay. So I got on a bus here in Peoria, Illinois, and it took me to Indianapolis, and so when I got there in time to go on the Greyhound bus to St. Louis, and then St. Louis all the way out west. But the bus was full. So that means I spent all night at the bus depot in Indianapolis.
Dang.
What saved my life was there was a White Castle catty corner from the bus depot. So I ate White Castles all night and had a horrible stomach the next day.
I can imagine.
It was worth it, let me tell you. But anyhow, I got on the bus and then we went to St. Louis. There was a 3-hour wait down in St. Louis. And then I got on the bus, and then it was time then to go to the Southwest. And because of breakdowns of the bus, because of the weather, because of drunkenness on the bus, buses were delayed and such like that. It was, and it was just, I thought, oh my God, God, I know that you want me to go there. I know that you do. And it's not that I'm religious, my brothers and sisters, so don't think that, but I'm very spiritual. I believe God puts us where we need to be at any given time.
Yep.
I believe that puts people in our lives for a specific reason. We may not know of that reason this very moment, but in time that we will, okay? And so I finally made it to Gallup, and I kept calling the sisters, yes, I'm on my way, and such like that. And so my bus arrived at 4:00 in the morning, 4 days later. It was a hell of a trip.
Dang.
But not at any time did I think that I was going to turn around and go back home. No, I was going to go through hell to get to New Mexico. The sisters picked me up at 4:00 in the morning. I hadn't taken a shower for 4 days, so I'm sure I smelled real special. And but anyhow, they were very loving. So they took me to so they picked me up in Gallup. And my brothers and sisters, the Navajo Nation is like 50,000 square miles. The city of Gallup and the city of Albuquerque and the city of Santa Fe, as well as other places, they are surrounded by the Navajo Nation, okay? And the Navajo Nation, like the Cherokee Nation, Seminole Nation in Florida, or the Kootenai Nation, or the Blackfoot Nation in Montana, they're all a sovereign country. They all have their own rules and regulations. They have their own tribal policemen and such like that. And so the sisters picked me up. They took me to the shelter. They showed me where I was going to stay. I took a shower. They said, Robert, don't worry about, start volunteering the next couple of days. You need to rest. And so I took a shower and I went to sleep, and I slept like a baby. I was so damn tired. But on the other hand, I was really excited to begin this journey that God has allowed me to be on. And so I slept for a couple of days. The sisters came, and the shelter is in Gallup. And Gallup is just right off of I-40 that goes east and west, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Gallup only has 21,000 people. But because of being Interstate 40, there's a lot of traffic, of course, and such. And also that there is a 70% chance that anyone who lives in Gallup is going to experience some type of violent crime. And I did, and I will go into that later.
Oh my gosh.
But anyhow, I was fascinated with it. I love the Southwest. I have been to Texas. I have been to Arizona many times, to Phoenix, and I just love the Southwest. I love that spirituality of the Southwest. Anyhow, so it was time for me to start, and they showed me what I needed to do and such. And so, and so just being there, and I have never been around a lot of Native Americans, especially Navajos. or Apaches, maybe some Seminoles in Florida. And I learned so much. And this shelter, because of COVID, that at one time it held 250 men, but because of the state stepped in until finally they got a lawyer, and because the state wanted to close the shelters down in New Mexico because of COVID, and the sisters rebelled. But at first, the shelter was closed down, their soup kitchen was closed down. The sisters tried to take sandwiches and such out to the street of our brothers and sisters, and they were almost arrested to doing so because they were told not to do that either. So they got a
Jesus.
lawyer. They got a lawyer in Albuquerque, and so they went to court. And because of our Constitution, there is a separation of church and state, and we should never forget that. Never forget that.
Never.
You know, and our government right now is so damn intrusive because of this stupid pandemic. If it is a pandemic, I mean that's another discussion.
That's another topic.
Big time. But anyhow, so they were given permission. The soup kitchen could be back open 6 days a week. The sisters do take Thursdays off as a day of reflection. Okay. And so they taught me what I needed to do. And I love to cook. And the sister who was in charge of the kitchen, she goes, Robert, always remember there's two people in charge. She said, God and her. I loved her. She was wonderful. But she said, you're Spanish and Italian, so go for it. But just write, excuse me, but just write a menu out for me. I will okay it and such like that. And the kitchen was mine.
Wow.
And the kitchen opened up. I always made the food prior to the gentlemen, our Native American, our Apache and Navajo and Hopi brothers that would come into the shelter. One thing I must also say, that in the Navajo, like most Native Americans, especially Navajo and Hopi, that they don't like to stay indoors. They don't. They'd rather sleep under the stars, and they did, very much so. Also within the Navajo Nation, and not so much in the Hopi Nation, that the women run everything. The women own the land. They own the money. It's a very matriarchal system. You know, a lot of guys came in with black eyes that their wives gave them because they were drunk. You know what I mean? And everything, you know. But anyhow, I had learned so much from our Native brothers and sisters. And I remember, because we opened at 3:00, the meal was already prepared. I made Italian food a lot and Spanish food. I learned how to make Indian fry bread, Native American fry bread.
Oh, wow.
And I love that dearly and such. But anyhow, and we received food from Phoenix, a lot of food from Phoenix and from Albuquerque and from Santa Fe, and also some food from Colorado. And so just being there and learning so much. And when the guys would come in with backpacks, they would start lining up at 1:00 in the afternoon for a place to stay and a meal. But we always went through their backpacks. We found guns, shanks, knives, booze bottles out the yin yang. And the sisters would get the booze and they would pour it out right in front of these guys. And these guys would cry like babies. Oh my gosh. But none of these guys were disrespectful to the sisters. None of them were. And a lot of these sisters were from India, so they had the dark skin. And that's one thing that the sisters realized, that the Native Americans responded to the dark-skinned sisters better than to the white nuns. Okay, and so all the sisters that were there were from India, and because they looked like Native Americans, so they had a lot of respect for these sisters. Not once, and I was there from January 1st until the end of May, and not once was any of these, even if they were totally drunk, they were never disrespectful of the sisters at all. One afternoon, because after they ate, and then the men who were going to stay had to take a shower. We went through all that, went through the backpacks and everything. They took a shower. I washed their clothes for them so they could have fresh clothes the next day. And before I got there, that the volunteers would just, they showered, they herded them in like animals. Apparently, that's what the sisters told me, which bothered them. Then the guys would just lay down and go to sleep. And then my volunteer headquarters or my bedroom suite or my little apartment, there was a two-way mirror. I could see them, but they couldn't see me. So if they needed something during the night, they knew they could knock on the window. But I learned so much from them. And but I also learned that they wanted to be heard. They wanted someone to listen to them of what was going on with them. That's very important. My paranormal brothers and sisters, and my spiritual brothers and sisters, that we need to acknowledge our brothers and sisters who are in need. We may not be able to help them with a lot of things, but we can listen to them. Don't say anything, just listen to them. And we would learn so much from our brothers and sisters. And so I thought, you know what? Why don't I play some music on my phone? Because usually lights out were at 7 o'clock and all this and everything, and everybody had to get up at 6 o'clock the following day. But so I 3 times a week that it was music night, and a lot of them liked, oh my God, they liked heavy metal music. They liked a group called Skid Row, if anybody's heard of them, and Arrow. Yeah, headbanger music. They love the headbanger music. And most Native American men, they don't, and women also, they don't cut their hair, so their hair is really long and such like that. So they loved headbang music and such like that. But others liked other kind of like soft music and such. So 3 times a week on Monday and Wednesdays and Friday nights, we listened to music for several hours, and the guys would get up playing like their air guitars and everything, and you heard them laugh and carry on. And by doing that, it really relaxed them. We talked a lot. They got to know me. I got to know them. And that was very, very important.
Wow.
But just that experience there. And then one afternoon, and then the next morning, they get up at 6. We fixed breakfast. I would wake up at 4 o'clock, always have a hot meal for them in the morning. We had coffee, we had tea. We also had usually scrambled eggs and sausage, those types of things. Other times when there's other volunteers there, a lot of times they would just have cold cereal and everything, but I wanted a substantial meal inside of them because a lot of times they didn't have anything to eat during the day. And again, our Navajo brothers and sisters and Hopis, brothers and sisters, they would walk. They love walking everywhere. Oh my God, it's nothing uncommon to have them walk 20 miles in a day and never complain about anything, never.
Man.
So I would have a great meal for them. Then it was time, and then it was time for my spirituality. They had a chapel, but let me tell you that right before grace, right before meals, that I always asked one of our Native American brothers to speak in the Navajo language to say grace.
Wow.
It could be the Our Father or whatever prayer. And it was beautiful. It was really beautiful hearing, and everyone bowed their head and they listened to them saying grace. And that was fascinating to me. It was beautiful to me. And so then it was time to eat. And also I must go back a moment. And before everybody went to sleep, after we listened to all the music, headbanger music and whatever, I asked one of the guys to say a prayer in the native language, if it was Navajo or Hopi or Apache, to say a night prayer. And they did. And then somebody would translate it for me. And they never used the word God, but they said, Great Father in heaven.
Wow.
And that was, I never heard God ever call that. Excuse me.
No. Take your time, man. Take your time.
I never heard God ever call that. And I thought that was so beautiful.
It's all part of the experience, brother. So let it flow.
And this is the first time I'm really talking about being in this shelter with them, with our brothers and sisters. And so thank you. I appreciate this. But all these memories come back, and so the guys left, and then it was time for me like to go to mass. I went to mass every day. There was time for quiet reflection, and I believe in interior prayer. I needed that before I started my day and everything also. And so I learned how to really meditate a lot. I already knew how to meditate, but even deeper. And Mother Teresa said, Robert, I met her twice in my lifetime. And she said, Robert, she said, you need to shut your mouth because you talk too much. And she smiled and she said it. And she's right. My God, I mean, I'm Italian, I'm Spanish, I'm gay, and I just go on and on and on. Thank God I have my hands. If I ever lost my hands, I wouldn't talk. Really, But anyhow, she goes, Robert, sometimes you just have to close your mouth and open your mind and open your spirit to the word of God.
Yep.
And just listen to the word of God and listen to your spirit. Never allow anything to come in that. Okay, come in the way of doing that. And so I learned interior prayer, which really helped me a lot. I also covered myself with white light and such like that. The sisters knew that I was a psychic medium. I made no bones about that. And they were open to that. They were very, very open because the spirituality part of it. Okay.
Right.
And so my day was then consisted of, I did go back and lay down and take a nap. There were some volunteers coming today to help the sisters clean. They cleaned every day. Let me tell you, they were meticulous in cleaning everything. They used a lot of bleach. I mean, they sanitized everything. And so then I remember one afternoon or one late morning, that I was taking a nap, and the sister came yelling and knocking on my door, Robert, we need you, we need you. And at that time, there were a lot of seminarians from Colorado, Catholic seminarians who were in divinity school, learning to become priests and such. And these guys, bless their souls, and they're still my friends this day, but a lot of them came from very wealthy families. They had never seen violence like they did when they were in Gallup. And one of our Native American brothers, I mean, there was a lot of gangs there. There was a lot of Native American gangs. There were a lot of Hispanic gangs there. There were some even Asian gangs. I don't know where in the hell they came from. But anyhow, there was a lot of Asian gangs there also. Anyhow, sister said, Robert, we need your help. And so I, pulled some shorts on, whatever, and a sweatshirt. I went out there. And the seminarians, God bless them, I was really angry at them at first because I did not understand how they could see one of our brothers being kicked severely, beaten severely with sticks, clubs, and they did nothing. They stood at the door and did nothing. I took a crucifix. I always wear the Benedictine medal here, which is Saint Benedict medal, which has the rite of exorcism on it that the church has used for 600 plus years. And I took a crucifix with me. I went out there. My spirit said, Rob, you need to do what you need to do. And so I did. And I said, you know what, this is holy ground. The sisters are there. And I said that you need to leave. And this violence needs to stop. And one of them pushed me. But the other one stopped him. I was pushed to the ground and another guy helped me up. They
Wow.
still began to kick this poor guy. He was bloody. And I thought to myself, I remember when Jesus was on the way to Calvary. And I don't want to get real religious, so please understand that there was no one to help him. No one, except for Joseph. And so anyhow, or Simon or Cyrene did, excuse me. And so my spirit said, Robert, you need to lay on this man because they're going to kill him. So I had the crucifix with me and I was praying and I laid down on this man. I was kicked. They broke a couple of ribs.
Mm.
My nose was broken. I have a big nose anyhow, for God's sake, being Italian, right? I had two black eyes. They were beating on me. And finally, I kind of held up the crucifix and they stopped. I had to do something. I had to help. And I was so pissed off at those damn seminarians. My God, there were 5 of them, 5 big burly guys, right? But they were terrified. They didn't know what to do. And God bless them. Like I said, they're my friends today also, and so we talk about what happened. And so I laid on top of this man, like I said, and they kicked me and all sorts of things. And finally I held the crucifix up, and then they left.
Wow.
And the sisters called the police, and but it took them a while to get there. The police were coming to the shelter all the time because some of the guys were just outrageous, right? And but anyhow, so they finally came, and the ambulance was called, and our brother that was laying, I thought that he had died. I thought that he was dead. And the ambulance they only sent one ambulance, and I said, take him. I will get a way there or send another ambulance, whatever. Okay, because he was beaten before I even got to him, right? But anyhow, so they took him first, and then I waited, and the seminarians came out and helped me and stuff like that. But boy, did I wanted to unload on them.
I bet.
I really wanted to say some things, but I didn't. It was an experience for them that they had to experience, you know. And so then I was taken to the hospital, and I was hospitalized at the Native American hospital, which they usually don't let non-Native Americans go to, but they have a white hospital as well as Native American hospital. But they sent me to the Native American hospital, and so that was okay. In fact, going there was a privilege, and there was a reason why that God wanted me to go. And but I was in the hospital 3 days, and within the Navajo Nation, at most Native American hospitals, they will also have a shaman there also. This shaman was 90 some years old. His name was Daniel, and he was wonderful.
Wow.
He came in to see me, and he said, Robert, he said, when you're done healing here, when you go back to the shelter, I will come to get you because I want to take you back into my Hogan. And he had a Hogan back behind the hospital. And so a week later, 2 weeks later, that I called him and I said, I'm back and I'm feeling better. And he said, I'm going to come and get you. I want you to come, and I want you to experience a sweat lodge. And so I was open to that. I mean, how many non-Native American get to do that, right? And I believe everything happens for a reason. I really do. It's just not by chance. And so I did. And I told the sisters this is what I was going to do. And they were very open to that. They said, Robert, go for it, do it. They were very open to that. And so I did. And so the sweat lodge, and within the Native American hospital, they do have shamans, and the shamans come in and they do their rituals as well as having modern medicine, and both work beautifully together, even if it's psychological, that the person begins feeling, the Native American brother or sister begins to feel better because they know there's someone there, someone who knows their spirituality, knows their culture, knows their society and such. So it really helps them. And so here's Daniel and myself in the sweat lodge. We just were there for 2 hours, and it was a wonderful experience. It was wonderful. And so it just awakened myself. But that was the only one of 8 sweat lodges that I have experienced in this past year.
Wow.
So went back to the shelter. Everything was copacetic. Everything was fine. I was healing up. I was able to cook again and do what God had wanted me to do there and such like that. But every Thursday we had off. It was the Sisters' Day of Reflection. And so some of the seminarians had never been to Arizona, not at all. And so I took him to the Grand Canyon. We also went to Zion National Park, which is in northern Arizona in southern Utah. And so we traveled all over. We went to Canyon de Chelly, which is in New Mexico, part of it New Mexico, part of it Arizona, and a place called Chinle, Arizona. And excuse me, it was in New Mexico. It's right on that border. In fact, Gallup from the Arizona border is only like 30 miles. It's very, very close. We go through the Painted Desert and such like that. and which is beautiful also. And so I'd been there before. But anyhow, so I took the seminarians around to these different places. We went to this one place south of Gallup, about 70 miles, and it's where the Anasazi Native Indians were. And all of, they were there for 1,000 years, and there are ruins there, right? There was this natural amphitheater that I got to walk in. And let me tell you, being a psychic medium and experiencing those spirits, in my mind, I began to hear the drums beating. I began to hear different sounds and such like that. I could hear people talking in a different language.
Wow.
It was a spirit. It was so every place in New Mexico and Arizona. It could be Sedona, Arizona, the Red Rock country. It could be anywhere in Arizona, going to the Grand Canyon, those types of things, going to Zion, going to Lake Powell, such like that, in Page, Arizona. I opened up to the spirit world even more, and it was just a beautiful experience. Yeah, very beautiful. And so my time in New Mexico ended. I needed to come back. I needed to go to Nebraska to volunteer at a place. So the sisters thanked me, invited me back, which I have been back. And so they put me on a bus, which was 5 hours late. I thought, oh my God, please, now what's going to happen? Oh, but anyhow, I got home, and it's because I needed to go to Lincoln, Nebraska, but because of some mishap in the buses and everything, that instead of going there, they sent me to St. Louis, Missouri. Just not me, but 40 other people that needed to go north and west. And they sent me to St. Louis. My God, I was only 3 hours away from home here in Peoria. Anyhow, they put us on another bus, went back out west. Finally, I got to Lincoln, Nebraska. And so I volunteered at a homeless shelter and soup kitchen there. And I have some family and friends that live there. And so it was nice going there. And and then after that, I wanted to go back. I was invited to go to Taos, New Mexico, which is in the northern part of Arizona. Of New Mexico. It is north of Santa Fe, the capital.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. Oh my gosh. And so some sisters, they weren't from Mother Teresa's group, but they were sisters of St. Francis of Mercy. And so they would take me to Santa Fe. We would go to Albuquerque, and I would volunteer in the homeless shelters there and everything. But while I was in Taos, I met some wonderful shamans. Oh my God! So God opened another door for me, and these Native Americans. Oh my God, they were so loving. I got to meet their families and stuff like that, and they took me into the Monte Cristo Segura mountain range, which is the largest mountain range in North America. And I think I sent you some pictures of the
You
mountains.
did. You did.
Okay. And just going up there, 15,000 feet. You know what I mean? And my friends would tell me about Sasquatch, Bigfoot, about skinwalkers. A- And even when we are there, just being in nature with my brothers and sisters, just being in nature with them and being with their children. I mean, when we went horseback riding, it just wasn't the three of us. It was probably 20 or so people. I don't know if I sent you pictures of a moose that I saw one time, and maybe I need to send those to you. Also, there were pictures of bobcats, and our Native American brothers and sisters, they did carry guns. When we had a large group with us, there was a person in the very front carrying a gun, and then someone at the very end carrying a gun also. Okay.
Okay.
For our own safety, because there's a lot of bear out there's a lot of cougars, there's a lot of mountain lions, and God knows whatever. But with my friends, I felt very, very safe. I did. Oh, rattlesnakes were galore. Oh my God.
Oh, I can only imagine.
Oh, I don't like snakes anyhow, but anyhow, I guess I was supposed to experience them, and I'll send you some pictures of those too. And but just being with them, and then I remember they said, Robert, would you like to go into a sweat lodge? I said, well, I was in one in Gallup, and I said, sure. And he says his name is Daniel also, and Daniel said, Robert, this sweat lodge is going to be different because we're going during being in Sweat Lodge that we are going to smoke peyote. It's not to get ourselves all, I don't know if I can use the F word or not, but anyhow, he said it's not to get ourselves screwed up, right? But
Right.
enough to open our mind to the experience within a sweat lodge. And so I did. And here I thought it was going to be a peace pipe. You know, you always see that shit on TV and everything. And it wasn't that long and such like that, you know. But you only take a couple of tokes. So you know how old I am if I'm going to say take a toke, you know. And but anyhow, and I did, and he said, and there we were. It was very hot inside. Of course, it was a sweat lodge, and somebody was playing the drums, and just that beat, 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 and you focus yourself, and you focus your breathing upon the drum also. So here I'm smoking peyote, just a couple of tokes, and my mind opened up to another dimension.
Oh, wow.
It opened my mind to a different spirituality. I closed my eyes. I just remember somebody just beating on the drum. It was almost like an out of body experience that I had. And after 3 hours, it was over, but I will never forget that first time. And like I said, I've been in 7, 8 altogether sweat lodges, and all of them were different. And then they asked me if I had been to Window Rock, Arizona, in which I had. But during this time also that I would go volunteering in New Mexico and go volunteering down in Albuquerque and Santa Fe and do that also, which was very important to me. And so another time they said, Robert, do you want to go to Arizona? And I said, well, I've been to Arizona, I've been to Phoenix. And they said, have you been to the seat of the Navajo Nation? Now, they do not like to use the word Navajo because in very, very slang Mexican, it means thieves. But the American government picked it up because they believed that Native Americans were thieves. Okay. And so that's what the name stuck. But really, their name is Dene, D-I-N-E, with an accent mark. And the Navajo language is totally different. You know, the code talkers from World War II that really helped save and win World War II was because of our native brothers,
Yes.
code talkers. And I have pictures of those too. And I think Kyle, in that picture that I sent you, that is where the memorial to the code talkers is also. Okay? And but anyhow, so I said, yeah. And he goes, well, we're going to take you into the window to the universe. I had seen the huge boulder with this hole in it, this opening. It was massive. But he said, we usually don't allow non-Native Americans, not Indians, not Navajos or Hopis, to go into the window to the universe. But they said, Robert, because of your volunteerism, because of how you have helped our people, that we want to show you our respect. And they wanted to make me into a brother. And I was so privileged and so honored. So we trekked up about a mile to get to the opening. And it's a huge opening. It's massive. This boulder is massive. And so anyhow, I went in there and one on each side of me. And they said, Robert, close your eyes and open your mind. My brothers and sisters who are listening to this, I heard the beating of drums. I heard horses' hooves. I heard people chanting. I smelled smoke. I heard gunshots. I heard people scream. I experienced so very, very much. And like I was telling Kyle earlier, that I had never spoken about this experience, you
That's
know,
amazing.
and but just being there, I thought I was there for like hours, but it was only 5 minutes. But it was like I had this out of body, I had this most wonderful spiritual, not religious, but a spiritual awakening to a different world, to a different dimension. It was like going back hundreds of years and being in America 100 years ago. And it was just incredible. I will never forget that. Sometimes in my dreams, I relive that, like I probably will be tonight, talking about it. But just having the privilege of being in the window to the universe, I will never forget that. Never. And being in the different sweat lodges in which I was in, and yes, I smoke. Sometimes we smoked peyote, and sometimes we took peyote buttons. But it was being from Illinois, it's legal here now to smoke pot, right? And years ago when I was in college, everybody was smoking weed. Even if it was ditch weed, it was weed. You know what I mean? It was shitty, but it was weed. And so anyhow, so we did that. And but this is totally different. When you smoke peyote, not to get high, but to open up your spirit, open up your being to another dimension. It's totally different. It's totally different, you know. And so I love that. But just being with our Native American brothers and sisters, and oh my God, the campfires. Oh my, every night, Halloween night, they do not allow their children to go trick-or-treating because it's a white man culture that does that. They don't believe in that. They don't believe, like we will say in the paranormal field, that the veil is thin on Halloween. They don't believe that there is a veil, not at all. Because spirituality has taught them that the spirit world is always open to us if you are open to it. Okay. I have a different feeling and opinion now when I hear people say the veil is sin. I believe, which is very true, that there's spirits around us 24/7 and such like that, and even believe it more now. But just experiencing what I did, being in the window to the universe, and going into Sedona, which is a beautiful red rock country of Arizona. It's just beautiful. Oak Creek Canyon. They believe, the Navajos and Hopis believe, that there is a huge crystal that has toppled over on its side. And it is leaking out all this energy. And if you've ever been to Jerome, been to Sedona, Oak Creek Canyon, Arizona, you will feel differently. Open yourself up to that. Open yourself up to that, and you will experience a lot of things. But just being with our Native brothers and sisters, and also what I experienced was a rodeo. I know a lot of our brothers and sisters don't like rodeos because it's somewhat abusive to the animals, but I'm going to say, Kyle, I don't know if I sent you at a rodeo that I was at, and they sang the national anthem in their language. Did I send that to you?
No dos do beson de son na ba ye taya bit a when the go day net in ne hit in the tan de panelini out a go benet ne da Das it's wasn't it. Toshi a so Benson Nilko dot not a ado Nihikea big
And also, my brothers and sisters, if anyone has anything to bitch about our country, it is Native Americans, but they don't. Look what happened to them in Wounded Knee. I have been to the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation also, working with Lakota Oglala Sioux. Okay, I know of the tragedy of Wounded Knee. I was there. And let me tell you, being a psychic medium, picking that spirit up, picking the hatred that America had for our Native brothers and sisters, it was incredible.
Hmm.
Just those experiences. And so I am so very blessed in so many ways, maybe not financially, but I'm blessed to have experienced these things. And again, I believe God puts us where we need to be at any given time.
Yep.
That God wanted me to go to Taos. He opened that door. It took me a while to get there. Like, bless you,
Excuse me.
bless you. It took me a while to get to Gallup, but I got there. Nothing was going to stop me. Nothing. Here, and here last week I turned 67 years old. I have a couple of rodeos left in me, and I'm not going anywhere yet. No way. God is not finished with me yet. There is much, much more that I want to experience. At one time, I had a bucket list, a huge bucket list. But now, what I experienced in Arizona and also in New Mexico, that my bucket list has gotten very, very short.
Man, do you know when it like if you think about the blues man had to go through a journey to get his music out. In a way, it's kind of the same thing. You had to go through your journey so you could experience the things you experienced, and it was a true experience. It wasn't just a tour, you weren't there as a tourist.
No.
You have to experience some hardships to get to that next level.
Mhm.
So that's understandable. Some of the things you went through. I don't think it was meant to be a hindrance. I think it was just a test. Are you willing to go a little further? Are you willing to go a little bit further?
Right.
You're going to be inconvenienced, but
Mhm.
that makes
So
the journey that much more important.
It does. I must be very honest with you. There was a human side of me after I had the hell beat out of me, thinking I need to go home.
Well, of course.
But that was short lived. That was short lived. They said, no, my spirit said, no, Robert, you're out here for a specific reason. Everything happens for a reason. Remember that, Robert. Remember
That's right.
that. And what you're going to experience is going to supersede any violence that has happened to you in New Mexico. And it has. And my brothers and sisters, we must listen to our spirits. Our spirits will never get us in trouble. It's just like they used to say, you had a gut feeling, right? And if you
Trust
don't
it.
go by your gut feeling, what happens? You get in trouble.
That's right.
Okay.
We've experienced that lately ourselves.
Oh, amen. Oh, amen. What's sad about also what I saw was within the Navajo Nation, because COVID really hit our brothers and sisters terribly.
Excuse me.
And a lot of that has to do with because of healthcare is real crappy. Even the Native American hospital is not, I mean, it's substandard. It really is. It's not. But when I was there, because I was white, they treated me differently, and I saw that, and that bothered me. That bothered me greatly. I am no greater or less than anyone else. I
No, but
wanted
you also have to consider you being a guest. A lot of the traditions, and I'm not going to claim I know their traditions that well, but a lot of them, when you're a guest, you're treated better than family.
Oh, very much so. But just being around the campfires with them, and I mean, it was just incredible. I ate elk and deer stew, Native American fry bread. I mean, it was just wonderful. Every night they had a campfire. I was always invited. They always came and got me. If there was 10 people, sometimes there was 50 people. On Halloween night, there was 300 folks. And it was wonderful. The children were dressed up in native costume and such. And it was wonderful. The children would sit around and tell me stories that their great grandfathers told them.
Oh, that's
Everything within the Navajo Nation is an oral history.
yeah,
Some of it's written down, but most of it's oral. And it was just wonderful. There
man.
was another time when I was in Canyon de Chelly, and we can talk about this later. But my brothers and sisters who are listening to this, I saw an earth angel, and this earth angel saved my life and another seminarian's life because of where we were at. It was not safe for us to be there. And this earth angel assisted us, and we were 30 miles off the beaten track. We saw
Wow.
bear prints, we saw mountain lion prints, and this earth angel saved us. And that's for another story.
Yeah, I was going to say, Robert, we're running low on time, but I feel like we got another story to tell. So would you consider maybe coming back in about a week or two and see if we can
Anytime.
pick up on the stories? Because I'm finding it fascinating. I'm loving the journey. I want to stress to everyone that's watching or listening to this. So many of us are so privileged. We try to victimize ourselves over trivial things. And when you have some folks that really go through some rough times, especially when you're talking about homeless, and yes, I know you can sit here and argue, well, they got mental problems, they got drug problems, but you know what? There's a lot of them that came back from the war that the government forgot about them.
Amen. Amen.
And then the drug use and the mental problems started from just being forgotten.
Mhm.
And I try to steer away from the politics as much as I can, but you know how it is. It's part of our everyday lives now. So I'm going to say something, and I don't know if this video will get taken down or if somebody's going to get mad at me for saying it, but I've always believed, and you can believe in the Bible if you want, you don't. Hey, that's between you and who, whatever you believe in. But the Bible says if you're going to, before you take care of others, you need to take care of your home. Well, this country is our home. And yeah, there may be people overseas that need help. We need to help the homeless that are here in our own country. Stop sending money over for frivolous things that really don't amount to anything overseas. Take some of this money and get facilities, get these folks help. They need mental help. They can't afford, they don't have insurance, they don't have the jobs to pay for this. We can do this for people that really, really need it. Let's get them back on track again. If it's beyond repair, okay, but let's get a facility that we can help them through the rest of their lives. But let's feed the folks we got here. Let's get them the help they need. I'm not going to sit here and claim my heritage, like I'm trying to virtue signal or anything. I go by the stories I've been told from both sides of my family of having Cherokee in our family. If I'm Cherokee, I'm very, very, very little bit Cherokee, but I mean, let's face it, they're still our brothers and sisters.
Mhm.
I have a love for these folks. There's many of them out there they refuse to be victims, but sometimes they still need help.
Mhm.
And I think it's time that we do that. Let's keep some of this money at home and let's help these folks. Let's get them off the streets. Let's get them cleaned up. Let's get them the mental help that they need. If we can get them back into society, let's do it.
Mhm.
But it's not going to happen until everyone stands up and says it's time to change. That's my soapbox. I'm sticking to it. You can agree with me. You can not agree with me. I know some people don't want help. And if they don't want help, it's kind of on them.
God bless them.
God bless them, but it's on them.
Right. And it's their choice.
It's their choice.
But at least we have reached out to them. And my brothers and sisters who are listening to this, I just don't represent myself when I go and volunteer all over the country and also into Haiti and Jamaica and places like that. I I also represent all of you. I don't want to toot my own horn, but I just received one of the greatest awards that I've ever gotten in my life. And it was from, and I've not talked about this. This is the first time that I've talked about it. And again, it's not all about me, but I received word from the Navajo Dene chairman. They don't call them chiefs, okay? But from the Navajo chairman and from the Hopi chairman, it was a conference call. And I have been awarded the humanitarian award
Oh,
for this work.
no, you deserve accolades for that.
And I am so humbled because I don't do this volunteerism to get any reward. I am there to help our brothers and sisters in need.
But you know what the reward is? The reward is the people that you have in your life now.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And there's more experiences. Also, sometime I would like to talk about the time that I spent 6 months in the Appalachian country in Eastern Kentucky and Western West Virginia and helping our mountain people, our mountain brothers and sisters, and what I experienced there.
Yes.
We can talk about that because
I
going
told you
into
we're going to have a lot more to talk about.
Amen. But my brothers and sisters, if you need any assistance, have any questions, please. Kyle has my telephone number. I give it out on all these podcasts, but it's 309-213-0325. Kyle has my, and reach out to me if you have any questions, any concerns. And if I can help you, if I can assist you, I will do so. And if it is above my pay grade, as they say, because there's no experts within the field, none, because the paranormal field is not an absolute science. So when I see these people saying, oh, they're experts, there's no such thing. There isn't.
We're always learning every day. So you will never be an expert. We
Right.
might be a little bit more knowledgeable than we were yesterday, but we'll never be an expert.
Right.
But Robert, if you would, as soon as we get done, send me any other photos you'd like me to share, because I would love to add it into this video.
I will. And
Man.
my brothers and sisters, love, light, and peace to everyone. And my brothers and sisters, always remember to love yourself first. Get yourself off the back burner. Love
Yes.
yourself first. We
Yes.
have to love ourselves first so we can love someone else. It's not a vain love. Get in touch with who you are. Get in touch with your spirit. Turn off the phones, computers, whatever, for 10 minutes a day and just be quiet. Listen to your spirit. Listen to the voice inside of you. Thank you, Kyle.
Oh, thank you. And please send me all your contact that I can add it in the description of the video. So if people can just go there and they can either pick up your phone number or we can click on your Facebook page or whatever. And so folks can reach out to you. I'm going to tell you, I've known this man for a little bit now, and he is extremely sincere. He heard that I was going through troubles and he offered to help me. And I mean, not too many people do that nowadays. There are a few of us out there that will, but it means a lot. That tells me how genuine he really is. And he'll give you, if he has it to give, he'll give it to you, even if it's all he has left. So, and that's not just saying it to be saying it. But Robert, we're going to pick this conversation up another day. And I want to say how much I appreciate your time. And
allowing me to be on your podcast. I appreciate that so much.
Oh, yeah. You're always welcome.
Thank you. I admire you greatly.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
And what you have been through. I won't go into any detail, but you are a survivor. You're a survivor.
I'm a survivor, but I'm not a victim.
Amen. And you have shared those experiences with your family, with your sons, so they will never be entitled. They will never be victims. And our experiences that we have make us who we are today.
Yes.
We may go through hell many times, but survive that experience, and you will become the person that God has created us to be. Thank you again. Love, light, and peace, everyone.
I do want to say one last thing. I know I said I was going to be done a minute ago, but I want us to say one last thing. Stop letting the media, social media, the government anybody that's trying to separate us, let's stop that mess. There's too many people that want to keep them on one side and us on the other, and we should be more like this. And it's going to take some healing, and I don't expect it to happen overnight. But as I was telling Robert, the way to get to people, it's through love and understanding, and not name calling and just, people just want to come out and attack you because they don't like the things you have to say. That's not going to get it done. I'm sorry. Yeah, you have to be loving, understanding, and we have to learn to compromise on a few things. We're not all the same. There's some hateful people out there, but there's some loving people out there, and the loving people are the ones I bring on this show. So maybe they can inspire you. So
well, thank you. And also we all must try to agree to disagree civilly.
It's going to happen. We can't agree on everything.
Right. And thank God for that. Thank God for that. You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's, you know what? Because that's what makes Americans so great, that we have such a diversity. But again, we need to agree to disagree civilly and respectfully and honorably.
Exactly. And honorably. Exactly. So I guess until the next one, everyone, please take care. God bless. And most of all, peace.
Thank you, everyone.
We hope you enjoyed this episode of Listen to the Vibes. You can catch us on Buzzsprout or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, and on YouTube. Follow us on Facebook at The Vibes Broadcast Network